by John Keats is actually an excerpt from a long poem called Endymion. But let me first tell you something about the age in which he lived and wrote. It's called the Romantic Age, 1798 to 1835. If you look at the characteristics of this age, amazing love for nature, imagination, subjectivity, simplicity, and so on. The poems, of course, of this period are probably the best in the English language. Let's go on and look at John Keats and the poem that we have now. John Keats, 1795 to 1821. Can you see what a short life he lived? But within that short period, the lovely poems that he wrote, many of us remember him for his odes. More than 5 important odes that he wrote. The Grecian Urn, Nightingale, Autumn, we could go on. The poem today is from Endymion, which was written in 1818, based on a Greek myth where Endymion, the shepherd, is in love with the moon or Cynthia. The poem, my dear friends, is a long poem, 4 books of 1,000 lines each. Come on, quick maths, what a long poem it is. Scathing criticism poor Keats had to face for this poem. But that doesn't matter. It's a beautiful poem, and let's look at it. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. This is the beginning of the long poem Endymion. I'm not going to read the entire poem at one go because it's quite long, even the selected portion that we have taken today. So let me take parts of it and explain it as best as we can, try and understand. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness, but still will keep a bower quiet for us, and a sleep full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing. Therefore on every morrow we are wreathing a flowery band to bind us to the earth, spite of despondence and of the inhuman dearth of knowable natures, of the gloomy days, of all the unhealthy and over-darkened ways made for our searching. Yes, in spite of all, some shape of beauty moves away the pall from our dark spirits. Oh my God, what a list of beautiful objects he has here. All of them from nature, of course. Remember, I already told you that Keats was a romantic poet, and the romantics loved to write about nature. So every morning we wake up to other beautiful, even when we are asleep, probably our dreams are full of beautiful objects. And he says it is this beauty which keeps away from us all the unhealthy and over-darkened things. We are in a state of continuous relationship with the earth around us. The list goes on, and he says, such the sun, the moon, trees old and young, sprouting a shady boon for simple sheep, and such are daffodils with a green world they live in, and clear rills that for themselves a cooling cover to make against the hot season. The mid-forest brake rich with a sprinkling of fair musk rose blooms, and such too is the grandeur of the dooms we have imagined for the mighty dead. What does it mean? That this beauty of nature with which we are surrounded is continuous, is constant. Our forefathers, our ancestors also enjoyed this. Remember, there is no end to the beauty of nature. But my dear friends, I want to tell you here that beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. This beauty is there all around us, but some of us fail to notice it. And Keats is drawing our attention to it. And then he goes on, all lovely tales that we have heard or read, an endless fountain of immortal drink, pouring unto us from the heaven spring. I want you to notice here that beauty is not just what we see. The Romantic poets, particularly Keats, believed in the importance of all the senses. And therefore you have the sound too, you have the taste too, you have the smell too, you have the touch too. And therefore he says, nor do we merely feel these essences for one short hour. Even as the trees that whisper round a temple become soon dear as the temple self, so does the moon, the passion, poesy, glorifies infinite, haunt us till they become a cheering light unto our souls and bound to us so fast. So the beauty of nature is timeless, is constant, is all around us. And what does it do? It just does not touch our minds or our hearts. It seems to reach into our very souls. What a beautiful poem about beauty that Keats has brought out here. Remember, this is the first part of book 1 of the long poem called Endymion. I think, my dear friends, many of you have been listening to my earlier lectures. So you know what I decided to do today? I'm not going to describe those figures of speech that we have already come across. In fact, I think I'm not even going to give you where they are. I'm not going to give you the examples. Would that be a nice idea for you to look for metaphor and alliteration in this poem? There are many of them, so do look for them. One that I would now talk about is symbolism. You know, what is symbolism? When something stands for something else. What do I mean by that? For example, a very common symbol is the white dove, which stands for peace. Here we have the poet Keats talking about the sheep, the simple sheep. The symbolism there is to Christ, who is always talked of as the shepherd leading his flock. So in order to understand symbolism, we need to know a little bit about maybe the culture, maybe the social customs of that place. Another very important figure of speech here is imagery. What is imagery? You know, when the poet describes something so well that it seems as if you can see it in front of your eyes. Shut your eyes and you'll be able to see it. Oh yes, the best example probably would be of Wordsworth. Oh, when oft on my couch I lie, they flash before the inward eye. That's what imagery is about. So what are the examples? Because it's the first time I'm talking about it, probably I should give you the examples here. The flowery bands, the shady boons, daffodils, clear rills, you could go on. Every description of the beautiful objects of nature, in fact, does create that imagery for us. Why don't you test yourself by looking at and maybe making a list of all the objects of beauty in this poem, and then go out into the world and see whether you can spot them in nature. Let's conclude the poem by talking about what is the most common theme in poetry. If I were to think about it, the answer could be love. But I think for me, the more common answer would be nature. So come on, take out your books, go to your Kindle or whatever you're using and read all those beautiful poems about nature.